What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TECspertZ. I'm here at the crew again. My name is Nick Green. I'm the News and Sports Director with WZMB.
I'm Kenny Gates, the Station Manager with WZMB.
And I'm Trevon McGlone. I'm the Sports Editor for the East Carolina News.
And we are back with another episode of TECspertZ where we're going to be recapping what just happened in Liberty on Saturday. Yeah, we don't want to talk about it, but unfortunately we're going to because, well, that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about that, whether we want to or not. But before we do, we'd like to thank the Big Fake Theory for sponsoring today's podcast, as they are a continued sponsor of this podcast, and we'd like to thank them for that. All right, now let's jump right on into this. ECU lost 35-24 on Saturday. Blew another lead. That seems to be the theme. It was 17-0 at one point. Could have been 20-0. Could have been 20-4-0. Mm-hmm. But we did not do that. After what was a 4-hour rain delay.
Yeah.
4.5 hour rain delay.
Yeah.
One of the longer games that I've watched, but that's one of the things. Fellas, what are we thinking? What are we thinking right now?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just saying. It might not be true. If it wasn't for the weather delay, I think we might win the game. I'm just saying. Maybe we just didn't come in as prepared as Liberty did. But also, like we've talked about, we all have said if we were 3-1 going into conference play, we would be happy.
Yeah.
2-2 going into conference play, I'm just kind of like, what are we doing wrong? What can we fix? I think my main thing is we're taking the foot off the gas pedal. And it's the halftime adjustments by whichever team we've played that's just messed us up. We've had two possession lead against that, well, basically three, besides the extra point, and then 3 possession lead against Liberty, and boom, we choked both those games. Obviously, this loss feels more defeating in a certain way than that does. That felt more defeating in the way of, that's our rival. It's like we want to beat App so bad because you're just going to hear them talk so much trash. Yeah. But Liberty is more defeating because it's a one, like we said, we want to be 3-1 minimum. And then it's like, this is a good football team. Liberty's a great football. Like, they would have made the college football playoff last year if it was a 12 team. Yeah. They're one of the best group of 5 teams. Caden Salter, like we've talked about, is a dog. Mm-hmm. So I would have obviously, I think that loss is more defeating in the way of that is a high profile group of 5 team that if we beat them, and we go 3-1 going to conference play. If we win the American Championship, we have a legitimate shot on making the college football playoff. Now, if we were to even win the American Championship, I still don't think we'd make the playoff, even though the Americans consider one of the top conferences.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cannon. It was tough. Just the way that we lost in the fashion that we did. Yeah. At least with App, we knew, okay, it's going to come down to the wire. And even then, we were just literally an interception away from winning that game, pretty much sealing it. And this one, it was like we just took our foot off the pedal, like you said. Play calling got conservative. We kind of just you let them back in the game, it felt like. And even when we had, I think, when Rajia scored, I believe it was late third quarter, even then it was just like, I wasn't confident that we were going to be able to pull it through. And Liberty came back and took it, and they sealed the deal. And that's, closing is a concern in terms of not making the adjustments that teams are making. And that's got to be, this is one of the games where it feels like we were outcoached in the second half compared to the only game, honestly, I feel like we were outcoached.
And I think also in this game it showed, I knew it would happen just after it had just happened, losing Ravel. Yeah. It showed. It was bad. It showed especially in the second half. I will say though, Reese Smith, who had 3 touchdowns for Liberty, that was more of the slot guy, so I'm kind of like, who was supposed to be covering him? Yeah. And not a linebacker, because that guy I think was just too fast. But like, who was the safety? Who was the slot corner that was guarding him? I'm kind of like, whoever that was got exposed.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think you're right, though. I think losing Siobhan Rebel really, really hurts us. I mean, that one just... That was heartbreaking news to see that on Friday. That came out. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about that last week because it didn't happen. We were over here telling you don't throw to Siobhan Rebel. Yeah. Little did we know, you can't throw to Siobhan Rebel. Yeah. He's not playing, which is very unfortunate. That news broke on Friday, and I mean, Cannon sent that over to me, and that ruined my day. Yeah. I'm kidding. I had a great day on Friday, but that also ruined, like, it made me sad a little bit. But like at the same time, like, oh man, when you go back to it, the whole game itself, it seemed like defensively this was not the same team. You could feel the impact of Siobhan Rebel not being there. At first, I was like, okay, like the first quarter, our defense was fantastic. But you're right, they got the halftime adjustments and they got some adjustments going. After the second half, we couldn't get a stop if we wanted to. It was brutal. They just drove down the field like it was nothing. Reese Smith had himself a day. 3 touchdowns. That's insane. And Now, granted, some of those were fantastic catches, and I've got to give him credit for that. Give credit where credit's due. Some of them were incredible. But at the same time, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, the defense is supposed to be our strong suit, and when we're giving up 35 points, not even off of really turnovers, really. Like, this is the first time where, like, the defense has really given up 35 points, and we didn't, like, this was not based off turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, this is all based on, like, hey, they just drove down the field to score, which, once again, Liberty's offense is fantastic. Got to give them credit where credit's due on that, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about that offense because they really did play fantastic. But what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's almost unacceptable in my opinion, that we can't do that.
Yeah, we got to learn how to guard a corner route.
Oh,
I think three of their 4 passing touchdowns was the corner route.
The corner route was ridiculous. And then also at the same time, another point I wanted to bring up. I know we've kind of talked about it earlier on this year. This has kind of been a continued theme of our conversation a little bit. What were your thoughts on Jake Garcia's play? How did we think about it?
I think a lot of the offense struggling wasn't on Jake.
I agree.
I mean, the pick he had, late game, throwing it, and it bounced off the guy, and the guy caught it.
Yeah.
The last 2 games, it's almost been, I don't know how, obviously it is, I'm just making assumptions. Jake's probably like, I'm going to keep throwing the ball. I want to keep showing, because I know Jake's probably thinking, I'm still trying to get to the league, trying to get some stats. I'm trying to get some stats and show I can still play ball. So I bet he's also thinking, I don't want to take my foot off the gas pedal. He's just doing what he has to do. But I'm wondering, is that a Houston thing? Is that a JDB thing? Because obviously a lot of people are calling for Mike Houston's head right now.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are calling for Mike Houston's head. I mean, you lose to both these top 2, like one a rival who's a very good opponent, another one's a great opponent.
In similar fashions.
And losing both times and it's because if you look strictly at first half, second half scores and plays, you see that other coach is out coaching you. And I know how much App State fans, and hate Sean Clark.
Yeah.
And he out-coached Mike Houston.
Yeah. And that's saying something.
I'm not calling for Mike Houston's head, but I am saying I can tell you out-coached.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll even double down on what you just said, Cannon. It was the fact of, I looked at the stat that popped up on Twitter, and it was saying that the score differential that we were having between the second and third quarter, it's not even happening in the second half. In terms, it could be the second quarter where teams are finding ways to score on our defense and just not making the adjustments. Like, you have to be able, in this American, we can't afford, especially if we have higher expectations after what we saw the first 2 weeks was great, especially compared to what we were at last year. There's too many good teams inside going into conference play, especially against UTSA later on. You can't afford to make those mistakes and not make adjustments because this American will beat you. And this was, these last 2 games I was hoping to see, especially with Liberty coming up, making those adjustments and proving, hey, that we can find our groove and find a way to keep kind of going. But it's just, right now, I don't have the confidence to say that.
Yeah. Another point I wanted to make off that, I think a lot of people are calling for Houston's head more now, is because against App, it was 21-19, very close game. Obviously, they played much better in the second half than we did. Mike Houston's supposed to be this defensive coach. Brought in JDB to help the offense. And JDB has helped the offense. But you let up 35. Great team, don't get me wrong. But you held them to, 7 in the first half?
Yeah.
7 in the first half, and then you let up, I'm not good with math, but 28 in the second half, and you're supposed to be this defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
But you choked that lead. You probably told your OC, more than likely, I'm just making assumptions, probably told your OC to back it up a little bit, let's play some conservative football. JDB's offense ain't conservative football.
No, it's not.
And you saw that in the first 2 games. I don't want Jake throwing 3-4 picks a game. Let's leave it.
Let's get
there's a couple, and we got the playmakers. Chase Sal made a couple of great catches on Saturday. Tyler Savage finally getting involved. Like Winston Wright, our boy. Like,
true.
Get the boys involved.
No, absolutely.
Keep them involved.
Absolutely. And another point I also wanted to bring up regarding that right there is it feels like when we're scripted, when the plays are scripted, like the first drive of the first half, or the first drive of the game, and the first drive of the second half. It seems like those are the most successful, and then after that, we got nothing.
I think it's just a script thing. But I think that, and just based off of our first 4 games, JDB is great at script.
It's fantastic.
Like, this is what we're going to run first 10 plays in the first half. This is the first 10 plays we're going to run in the second half. This is his first season ever as a full-time, by himself, offense coordinator. He had a co, obviously at Ole Miss, but Lane Kiffin, whoever their other co one was. So I'm giving him some slack there. That's the thing. I'm giving him slack. I'm not giving Houston slack.
I agree.
Houston's on a short leash. He's on a short leash.
I agree with you. And I think that's something we really need to really consider here is, are you guys saying, what do you think of Mike Houston's job security right now? like how far until we really start
bringing up of
how far along do you think it has to be before we hear the Fire Houston chants going?
I'm already kind of hearing them in my group of friends. I'm already kind of hearing them. It's like we said, and I brought it up. I'm bringing it up for the third time this episode already. 3-1 going into conference play. I'm not feeling as bad with Mike Houston. 2-2 going into conference play. I don't know how I'm feeling about Mike Houston.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being immediately fire. Right now, I'm creeping toward the 7. I might be at a 6.
Okay.
I'm creeping toward the 7 though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm creeping if we lose to UTSA, it's gonna be about a 9.
Oh no! If we lose to UTSA, you might hear me calling for it there too. But
yeah, man, they're definitely going to be coming close, and I do expect to hearing. I wouldn't be shocked if the crowd would be upset if we don't find a way to constantly.
Yeah.
And it's Parents Weekend. This is a big weekend.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is a big weekend. Like,
this is the first game of conference opponents. We
Yeah.
really have to lock in here if we even want a chance at
it's
in
paint
the
and gold. Parents Weekend. UTSA is always a tough American opponent.
Because listen, 2-2 right now is not the best position to make the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
You can't make the college football playoffs if you don't win them. If
Yeah.
you don't win your conference, though. That is the way the Group of 5 works. If you don't win your conference, you have 0 shot of making it. Even if you went 11-1, but your one loss was or honestly, even if you go undefeated, but you lose in the conference championship, you're not making it because it's the top 5. It's the top 5 championships or top 5.
Top 4 for the first 4 seeds, and then 12 is a Group of 5. Well, more than likely, Group of 5 conference championship, unless you know.
So it's but you need to be a conference champion in order to get that Group of 5 bid.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where the conference play is really where we really need to get in here. We really need to start taking this thing seriously. I'm not saying we're not taking it seriously because I have been really pleased with how the offense has kind of developed a little bit more.
Yeah.
Jake Garcia is playing a little bit more conservative, and he's still making some incredible throws down the field. I think he missed one there was one that he threw to Anthony Smith. That Anthony Smith made a great play as a defensive back on that one. We got to be smarter than that. But he locked in on the very next play, and it was like, okay, that's what. Thank you for at least realizing, okay, you got bailed out on that one. Let's just kind of move on. Another thing I briefly want to touch on, because it's not the reason why we lost the game, but I'm very confused about it. How in the world was that fumble by Raji Harris not ruled down by contact?
I'm trying to remember what exactly the play.
He was running the ball. We were getting close to the red zone.
Yeah.
It was a drive where if we scored a touchdown, we're going up. And it was in the fourth quarter. It was a huge drive. And basically, from all the replay angles, it looked like his elbow and the ball came out simultaneously.
Yes,
so the elbow hit the ground and the ball came out simultaneously. To me, anyway, logic tells you, okay, when the elbow hits the ground, that lodged the ball out, and that's the reason he fumbled the ball. Because nobody else hit him at that time. Nobody punched the ball out. That logic tells you at that point that that's the reason why the fumble happened. The call on the field was that it was a fumble.
Yeah.
And they said the call stands. They said there wasn't enough to overturn it. I don't necessarily understand. Granted, that was not a reason why we lost the game.
Right.
I'm not. That next drive, they marched right down the field and put the ball right in the end zone. That's not the reason we lost the game. I'm not blaming this on the refs. However, that was something that I had to bring up because it was something I was genuinely.
Can we bring up one more point for you to UTSA as well?
Absolutely.
Miss Kicks, man. What was that, 24 order?
Yeah.
24?
It was. 24. Well, also, just leaving so many points on the board is another huge thing that we are just not. I mean, this happened in the App State game. This happened against Liberty, too. We are leaving points on the board. I mean, we started that drive, not in the red zone, but we started that drive off pretty far in the Liberty territory, and we didn't come away with a single point. That's terrible. That can't happen. At least 3. But to not even come away with 3 is really just it hurts. It hurts in ball games, and especially against good teams, you can't do it.
Yeah, and this is why College Game Day has segments where it's Pat McAfee has got the student kick, for the tuition thing. Pat McAfee's like, hey, ever talk trash on the kicker? All in all, he's like, yeah. This is exactly why. You missed a chip shot field goal. I think that's shorter than an extra point.
Yeah.
And you miss it. And I know it's right hash, and obviously hashes are different.
Sure, yeah.
But
at the same time, it's very important that you make these kicks because it can really come down to bite you, and it's tough. It really is. Now, it's tough. Do you have any more thoughts?
Yeah, just on that part, just to circle back to what we talked about last week, and when I wasn't trying to get too much on Conrad, but again, this is something that we've seen consistently, and we need points. I don't know if he doesn't have the confidence or whatever the case may be, but he's just missing these kicks that we desperately need. And at this point, we have other kickers on the roster. I think it wouldn't hurt to at least see him practice, at least with practice, trying to see, because we need you never know what it's going to come down to, especially like I said earlier today. The American's tough. We can't afford to leave points on the board, and it could be something that comes back to that we talk about again next week, and I don't want that to be a continuous.
It better not be.
Right.
It better not be.
Because UTSA, it needs to be it's one thing when we're making them kick from long distance. It's another thing when you're missing chip shots, regardless of where they are on the field. You've been here for a while. You've been in these situations before, and it's a constant thing, and now I'm starting to get concerned.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think you bring up a great point there, Trayvon. All right, well, I think it's time. Let's talk about UTSA a little bit. That's our next opponent. Family weekend, or is it Parents Weekend? Family or Parents?
Parents.
Same thing. Same deal. Doesn't matter how you word it. Parents Weekend here. First conference opponent in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. UTSA hasn't looked that great. They have not looked fantastic at all. We're also kind of at what are we expecting right now?
We're at a breaking point of the season.
Yeah,
we're at a breaking point of the season.
I agree.
Because it's like I said, Houston. It's like, I think last year, obviously, we had only 2 wins. I think that team wasn't like this team is going to go make a chance at making some noise in the American about going to a championship possibly.
Right.
That's not what that team was. I think everyone kind of knew that even through, like, before the season. Like, obviously, you're going to be hyped for your team no matter what before the season. But no one was like, it was like, oh, okay, like, Mace Garcia, he's been waiting for his turn to go start a quarterback. And Alex Flynn, it's like, oh, this guy's, like, making a push. Maybe he's really good. But outside of some, like, Ravel and Chad Stevens and some other guys, Mike Edwards on the defense, I wasn't necessarily like that excited on that team. I've been very excited about this team coming in because also you get all the transfers and that's what you think about. And you have a guy like Chase South, had a great season last year. And a guy like Siobhan Ravel before the ACL, projected first round pick by Mel Kiper. Like all those things. I don't want to talk about that, but but you know what I'm saying. So with that, I think this is a big breaking point on the season. I know it's only the 5th game of the season, and this game is also going to prove a lot. Like I said about Houston, I believe his name is Jeff Traylor from UTSA. He's one of the better coaches in the group of 5. If the same thing happens again with a choke of the lead because of halftime adjustments, that time,
I think you'll hear Chance.
Yeah, because you got Jeff Traylor, great coach. No matter how bad this UTSA team is, that's a great coach right there. He is going to make adjustments at the halftime. I don't know about Houston because I'm looking at their schedule right now. You mean Kennesaw State, first of all, by 14 points, who is regarded by people who play NCAA college football.
That's right, baby.
They know Kennesaw State's rated as the worst team in college football. It's like their first year in FBS. You beat them by 14. First game of the season. I'll give you some slack. Texas State, 49-10. Now, Texas State does have JMU's quarterback from last year, so, some things, but still. Texas, after that, they got blown out. Who cares?
Yeah,
and then you beat Houston Christian, who I don't think is an FBS school. I think it's an FCS school.
FCS.
45-7. So, just looking at that, first off, you're like, oh, we're winning. But I said the same thing about Liberty not looking good in the first 3 games. Look where that got us. And, they got Josh McCown's son at quarterback. Maybe he can do something. Josh McCown can do random things at random times. Maybe this guy can.
That's true.
But I think this is the main thing for this game, how you're going to coach. Because talent-wise, we are a much better team.
Oh, not even
from
close.
what I've seen.
It's not even close.
UTSA lost a lot of guys to transfer on graduation because they had a great team last year.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of guys. So I'm just like, if we lose this game, it's going to be on the coaching. And I'm saying that right now. It is not going to be by the talent of our players. Jake Garcia can throw 3 picks. It doesn't matter. It's going to be based off the coaches.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
I will be trust me, I'll be right there next week. If that happens, I am calling for Mike Houston. It's just going to be a whole thing the whole time. It's just saying fire Mike Houston by me the whole time. I'm going to be throwing it at your face.
We'll have a fire Mike Houston.
I'm going to see if our editor can just make fire Mike Houston come out of my hand at the phone if we lose this week. I will be that mad.
We will put a counter in the bottom corner.
Yes, if that were to happen, yes, you're getting a fire Mike Houston counter. Like, if we lose this game,
I love it.
Oh, I don't care. Like I said, Jake Garcia can throw 3 picks. I do not care. If we lose this game, it's all on Mike Houston.
I love the passion here. This is awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love the passion.
Like going back to the Mike Houston thing, he's been here for a while. We've even with that season that we had prior to last year, we lost a lot of players. Obviously, Keaton Mitchell, we lost our quarterback, a lot of history-breaking guys. We expected a little bit of regression. Yeah. 2 games is not the regression we expected.
Yeah, obviously.
It played out the way that it did, and then now with the transfer that we have come in, as long as Garcia and Winston, right, we've looked good for the first 2 games. That's great. As to piggyback off of what you said in terms of trailer, he got the best out of Frank Harris. The last couple of years he was there, and he was not the best quarterback. So is somebody that we have to watch out for, and definitely this is a game that we have to win. We have to beat UTSA because it's going to set the tone for how you set the conference, whether or not, and not dropping games that we need to drop. Because again, it comes to a point where you've been there for a while. We were supposed to be a contending team back then, and even then, I mean, obviously Memphis is great. Tulane has been phenomenal. They've been ranked the last couple of years, but you need to set yourself set yourself away from like the rest of the crowd, and we have to win this game here to set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
because it's like
that's hard. Good.
Just to kind of like go from where we're going from there. You know what I mean? It's been enough time. We need to start seeing more results.
No, absolutely, for sure. And I was gonna say that again. I got a little bit too heated a minute ago.
No, I love it. Yeah. You can do it again if you want.
That's just be the whole video, just me. I say that like a minute later, you're just gonna hear me yelling at you guys. But like I was gonna say about that is, Dread Trailer lost a lot of guys, that type of thing. This is a game that I'm kind of like, when you look at the rest of our schedule and you look at how these teams have played, it's on my lower level of like how hard this team is to beat.
Yeah.
Army's looked great. They're right now, I think, the 5th projected by ESPN to make the college football playoff.
Navy just beat Memphis.
That one, they scored 56 on Memphis.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then you look, Charlotte, who's obviously not a great team, but that's a North Carolina team. You want to beat Charlotte.
That's a North Carolina team. With Mike Houston struggling as North Carolina team. We can't beat anybody in state.
So that's why I'm like, you look at that game. You look at that game and you're like, okay, that's a tough one just because, I mean, that's past Saturday, I played Indiana. They got blown out. But at one point, it was like a 17-14 football game. Just saying. And Biff Poggi, I can't stand to look at that guy. So I'm kind of like, we better win. You know.
We're going to go to Biff Poggi right now?
I'm not going to rant on everything. And just because of how, like I'm saying, if we don't win this game.
I like to instigate stuff.
Yes. If we don't win this game, I will be highly upset. And honestly, all my hope for the season's gone. And I'll be relying on all my Panthers to give me happiness. Probably won't happen.
Oh, that's a tough ass right there. That's a tough ass.
Can't say much.
You were right. You were right. You were right.
You know
what? Fair enough.
He is the only 0-3 team in the league.
At this moment, we're the only team that's 0-3.
So we at least got to win, and you don't want my team.
Fair enough.
Outside of that, this is a history podcast. But
sorry for getting distracted.
Jay Garcia is my team at the current moment. But yeah, so I'm just still on that where I'm like, UTSA, when you base off talent, you base off rivalry. I mean, it's been we've been kind of constant rivals.
Yeah.
But it's not a team when you look at, especially right now with how they play. Last year, it's a completely different story. You look at them, you're like, we're not going to Texas, first of all. They're coming here. So that's a positive right there. I mean, Texas, that's just a tough place to play no matter what.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No matter what Texas school is.
And that can kind of travel, too. It's just tough on anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, it's gonna be probably 90% purple because it's also parents weekend, like I said. That's what I'm saying. Parents are like, we want your football team to be good if you're going to school here. And then they're going to go to the game, and if we lose to UTSA, and you look at their schedule, their 2 wins have been against basically an FCS school, in Kennesaw State, and an FCS school, and obviously Atlanta at Texas. I don't count that. But then Texas State, who is a good team, but 49-10 to a team that last year was one of the better teams in the Group of 5.
Yeah.
This team ain't the same. This team ain't the same team. If we don't beat UTSA, I will keep saying it. Fire Mike Houston if we don't win this football game.
You heard what he said.
You heard it here, folks. No, but
fire him now. JD be the head coach. JD be the head coach.
I love it. I absolutely love it, guys. I think you guys have made some really valid points that I think it's important to really just kind of like. I think you're right. This game, you have to look at this game as a statement game. We have to make a statement going into conference play. Yeah. I hate that we're in that situation that we have to make a statement, but we have to make a statement going into conference play if we're going to keep Mike Houston off the hot seat per se. If that's if this is the game to prove it for him, it's almost a statement is needed here. I'm not even going to really be satisfied with a close win. It needs to be a statement win in order for me to be like, okay, I'll relax a little bit. Because at this moment, Liberty and App State's not great after losing.
They played this week.
Maybe they're not that great. But Liberty, they're a solid team. But let's keep it. Liberty's a solid team.
Caden Salter, I've said it. He's a great quarterback.
Caden Salter absolutely he ripped apart our defense.
Cooley looked good on the running back, too.
Cooley looked fantastic.
They're backed up because Cooley was, I think they said question we went into the game.
Yeah.
Cooley, Lucas, they're back up. good too.
Yeah, I say their team is just an overall a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So there comes a certain point where there comes a certain point where I'm willing to excuse the fact that we're just playing good teams, but there also comes a point where it's like, all right, what are we doing? And I think at the end of the day, that's one of the things that we have to make a statement against UTSA. If we have to, we have to.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're exactly right, Nick. It's got to be. I mean, the first game in conference play is the most important part here.
Absolutely.
You got to make a statement first game. Because, I mean, some of those teams are seeing us, they're like, oh, they lost to App and they lost to a rival and they lost to a pretty good team. But they're kind of like, oh, the Pirates are down because they're, like, sad or they're down in talent or that type of thing. They're thinking we're soft again, like how we were last year. But we're not soft.
Yeah,
so at UTSA, we better make a statement in this game. I want to run the scoreboard if we can. I don't want to be conservative. Because you look at how our offense plays in general, just by how the structure of it is, right? This team is trying to score fast and as much as possible. So the fact that this year, not outside of FCS opponents, the highest points we scored is 24, I don't like that. But you look at the first halves, like we've said, it's like, that's great. Because you're like aiming on pace for 35, 40.
Yeah, absolutely.
So outside of FCS opponents, the fact that we've scored a combined, I'm not good at math, but 65 points. That through 3 games, that's really not that good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we better make a statement, better run up the scoreboard.
Kenny, you want to start us off with the score predictions?
Yeah, I'm going to be bold this week because we better dang win this game. I'm going to go 52-35.
Golly.
52-35. And you know, in that 35, 21 of it's coming in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Because we're gonna take the dogs off that.
Kate Hauser getting some touchdowns that game.
Kate Hauser's throwing a pass touchdown for sure.
For sure.
If I could bet on that somehow, I would bet on Kate Hauser over half a touchdown or something. 52-35. I'm being bold this week. I'm not going because if we don't do it,
I love it. I absolutely love it. Trayvon, what you thinking?
I do think we can blow them out too. I agree. I'm gonna say something around the lines of like 35-10. I'm looking more on like the defensive side because we all know what our defense can be when they play the best. Even without Rebel, get great soon, buddy. Like Please. You're gonna be great. Our defense has to prove something. Yeah. Like prove that Liberty game that we had gone through was just Liberty was a good team. You know what I mean? Let's prove that we still have the dogs, in the American. Shut them down, get some turnovers, get some sacks, get some pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just take them, demoralize them from the start. The same energy they come with the first half, finish through with that. So there's less pressure on the offense, although it's a game we should be able to win. But just remind everybody that you're one of the best defenses, not just in the American, but you're one of the best in the group of 5 now.
Yeah, and I think the defense will look good. Like I said, I just think if being bold, I'm going to assume if they would go score a lot, it'll be more in the fourth quarter when we take some of our starters out.
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not going to be as bold as you guys. I think it's going to be a closer game, unfortunately. I would love a big statement win. I think we need to have a statement win here. I don't know if I see a statement win coming, truthfully. I don't know if I see it right now with the state of how we've looked so far. I think we will start off hot again. I think that's almost going to be a given at this point. We're going to start off hot. But I think it's going to come back to bite us again. And I think I'm going to say 28-24. ECU's going to win.
If you said UTSA, I thought you were going to say UTSA. I was about to say. And the thing is, if we only win 28-24, I might say fire Mike Houston.
Oh, no, I won't be happy about 28-24.
So I might say it. So.
But I think realistically, I think that's where I'm going with this. 28-24, I think ECU's going to win it. And I think it comes down to, like you said, coaching. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think they're going to have a good game plan, at least coming into the second half, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Going into the second, and we all know that second half game plan for the other team is almost more important than our first half game plan because that works perfectly, and we can't do a thing about it. So I think that's kind of where I'm leaning at. Obviously, we will see on Saturday in Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium starting at 4 p.m. Be there if you can. We highly encourage. We need as many people there to cheer on our Pirates as possible. But until next time, we'll be back next week to recap the game that just happened at UTSA and preview our next one. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of TECspertZ. We'll be back next week. But until then, go Pirates.